Hello, and welcome to UTS Library's video on an introduction to EndNote 21 for PC. Today, we're going to take you through the basics of EndNote 21, what it is, what the interface looks like, and then the nuts and bolts of making it work, putting references into it, taking references that have been put into EndNote and putting them into Word, working with EndNote Online, and also working with EndNote for Word Online. So without any further ado, let me smooth down my hair and let's get going. All right, so in case you're wondering, before we get into the nuts and bolts of the EndNote demo, what EndNote is, it's a referencing software. Its primary function is to collect references that you are reading and then to be able to take those references and style them according to various referencing styles people use worldwide, and then insert these styled references into your writing. And it's designed primarily for things like Microsoft Word, and that's what we'll demonstrate it with today. But it does work with some other things too. All right, so this video sort of begins with what immediately follows downloading EndNote. If you haven't downloaded EndNote yet, this video won't cover it, but there will be other videos on our EndNote page on the library's website that will show you how. So I'll start with that, and then we'll get going on EndNote itself. And now I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So if you go to the UTS Library's homepage and you mouse over referencing, you can find our EndNote page. On this page are actual download links for the software itself, Windows and Mac. Then there are some introduction videos here on how to use it. And I guess this video will be one of those. There's also some information on this page on how to download the software. So once you've sort of navigated all of that, you will get to EndNote. Let me just begin with the very, very start here. So here's a new library setup in EndNote. So if you download EndNote and you open it for the first time, this is the screen you'll see. So let's begin at the beginning and create a new library. So you can call the library whatever you like. The default name will be My EndNote Library. I already have a reference library called My EndNote Library. So I'm going to call this one Stars and Space. And I'll use some examples from Stars and Space today when I collect my references. So once you've given your library name, it will look like this. Let me just maximize this screen. This is EndNote 21 here. So let me just sort of walk you through what the layout of this software is about, and then we can start to use it. So bearing in mind, this is an introduction to EndNote video, so we're not going to touch on absolutely everything you can do with EndNote in this video, but we will touch on the most important things. With that in mind, let's look at the 3 columns of this EndNote interface. You've got a black left-hand column, a big white middle column, and a big white right-hand column. On the left-hand column, it's like a filing system, although it does perform a couple of other functions. Whenever you add a reference to your library, it will be added to this all references list. There's also things like the trash here and recently added references and unfiled references. Unfiled references are any references that are not in a group, and we'll talk about groups in a little bit later. In the left-hand column here, you've also got things like tags, which we'll touch on, find full text, and shared groups and online search options. These are not really, the bottom 3 here are not really the purview of this class. But if you do have questions about them, I'll show you how to get in touch with UTS Library to ask those questions a bit later on. In the middle of the screen here, we have 2 bits. The top bit up here is a search mode. This is not a search mode for references that live on the internet. This is a search mode for the references you've downloaded into your EndNote library. And it's particularly useful when your library has grown and is now containing many, many references, and it may not be so easy to locate things anymore. Today, we're only going to add a few references, so using the search function may or may not come up, but we can have a quick show just to see how it works. Below here, we've got where the references live. So you can create references manually by keying in the information that makes them up, things like who created the reference, what its name is, when it was created, all that sort of stuff. However, you can also download references from the internet. So these references are usually things like books, journal articles, sometimes book chapters, PhD theses, and things of that nature, academic things. For non-academic things like websites and social media and other stuff like that, generally you will have to create the reference yourself. So we'll show you both of these things today, downloading a reference and making one yourself. In terms of these buttons, not all of these will be the purview of today's class either. Really only this one, which is to create a reference from scratch, will be something that we need to do today. Then you have this right-hand column. This performs a couple of different functions, but it's hard to demonstrate until you have references in the middle part of your library, because what this will do is show you information about the various references you've added to your library. So we'll come back and sort of touch on this right-hand column, which has a couple of different functions, as I say, later on. There's also these headings up here. And again, there's many, many options that live within these headings. We will only touch on what we need to touch on today. We will touch on things like syncing your library, which happens via edit. But apart from that, I don't think there's too many things we would actually have to use these headings for. All right. So that's your basic introduction to EndNote and the layout of EndNote. Now let us explore getting a reference into EndNote, and then we can demonstrate this right-hand side here. All right, so I'm going to show you two different ways of downloading a reference from the internet. One will be from the library catalog, and the other will be from Google Scholar. And the process is quite similar for both. And once you have this process down, you can then apply it to other academic databases, you know, Scopus, Taylor and Francis, Sage, Springer, and on. Okay, so I'm going to search for active galactic nuclei here today because I'm doing some space sort of research. Nuclei. And I'm going to find an example here of a reference that is useful for me today. I think it is indeed The Physics and Evolution of Active Galactic Nuclei, a book that we're going to download from the library catalog. Okay, so to download this reference to the library catalog, there's a couple of different ways to do it, but this is a nice, simple method to follow. If you'll just excuse me while I cough, pardon me. All right, so once you've clicked on the name of the book, there's these options here under Cite and Save. And to send the reference to EndNote, you're going to be using this Export RIS button. So let's just press this and see what happens. When you press this button, if you scroll down a bit more, it gives you this download option, and that's what we're going to want to do. Then something goes into my downloads folder, this RIS file, and when I click on it, it will open up that reference in EndNote. And now you can see up here, we've got one imported reference, one reference in all references, one recently added reference, and one unfiled reference, and they're all this reference. NETSA 2013, The Physics and Evolution of Active Galactic Nuclei. And you can see, once this goes in here, that options appear on the right. So we've got three tabs that suddenly appear: Summary, Edit, and PDF. So if I go to Summary, it will show you what the reference looks like in your favorite referencing style. We'll touch on favorite referencing styles in just a moment. If you go to Edit, it will show you all of the fields that the catalog populated when you downloaded the reference. You can see there's a great many fields there, and that it hasn't populated all of them, but that's quite normal. And then finally, there's an option here on the right for PDF. This is a whole book reference we've downloaded from the internet, and a lot of the time you can't get one PDF that sort of encapsulates the whole book. But if you do have a PDF of a resource that you've downloaded a reference for, then you'll be able to attach it here. And we will show you attaching a PDF shortly. Before we do that, what I might just do is indicate this styles drop down here. So when you first get EndNote on your computer, I think the default style it might be set to is called annotated, which, as you can see, puts all of this information from the notes field into the reference itself, a bit like you're making an annotated bibliography. There are some default styles that come with EndNote as well, things like numbered, Vancouver, perhaps Turabian, and APA 7th. And APA 7th is the referencing style most commonly used at UTS. So I'm going to select APA 7th right now. And you can see when I do that, it changes the way the preview of the reference looks. Just as one little addition here, if I go back to the EndNote page on our web page, which I can do like this, there is a bespoke APA 7th style that UTS Library created for APA 7th with the with the view in mind that so many people use it. So if you go here back to this EndNote page, our bespoke APA 7th style, which you can download and install here, and there's instructions on how to do it, has more reference types in it than the default APA 7th style. So if you work with things like social media or unusual, well, not unusual, but less commonly used academic reference types, then this style will be good for you. Further to that, there is also a study guide for EndNote at the bottom of this page here, somewhere. And this, here we go. This guide will actually have a information in it that will tell you how to use that style to manually enter references. And that is under this creating references manually heading. And then there is this how to enter APA 7th references into EndNote. So if you've downloaded our bespoke style, there will be all of these different options here to enter references in using that style. So for example, Facebook, it will tell you the reference type to use, social media, all the different fields you'd need to fill out to make a reference that looks like this. So that is nice to know if you need it, but for the purposes of today, we're just going to use the default APA 7 style. That's fine. Now, before we go any further and we get a Google Scholar reference, I might just indicate here that it's a good idea when you download these references to make sure that they look correct according to the style you're using. And of course, to know whether the downloaded reference looks good or not, it does help to know a little bit about the style you're working with before you start getting into EndNote, because EndNote can only really work with the information that is coming from these download files. It's not super great necessarily at tidying up little errors that might be made in the source data. And those errors can be things like the capitalization of titles. It's not very good at changing those. The other thing is that the catalog here is downloaded with this citation, the fact that it's the first edition. So that if you go into edit will be, it'll say, edition first. The thing about APA 7th referencing is if it's the first edition, you don't really want that information to show up in your reference. So as an example of how you might tidy a reference up, you could come in here and just delete that information there and then press save. And then when you go back to the summary, it's gone. So this sort of tidying up is a necessary part really of working with EndNote. And yeah, other things that might happen, the authors, you just need to check that they look displaying correctly and that the casing of all of this other text is fine. But now this is looking pretty good. So I might go forward and go to Google Scholar. And here we also have a search for active galactic nuclei. So I'm going to download the citation for this very top one, active galactic nuclei, what's in a name? This is from the Astronomy and something, something, something from Springer. Okay, so to download the citation itself, I'm going to press Cite, scroll down a little bit. I have to potentially move my little zoom bar out of the way here. Okay, and you'll see four options down here, two of which are EndNote and RefMan. You can use either EndNote or RefMan to download this citation. In our experience, we have found that RefMan creates slightly more accurate data than EndNote though. So we would, as our first preference, use this RefMan option. I've actually tried downloading this particular citation using EndNote and RefMan, and they're almost the same. However, RefMan just deals with the authors slightly more accurately in terms of their initials and stuff. So I'm going to use this, press RefMan. It goes into your downloads folder much the same way the library one did. And when you click on it, hey presto, you have a second reference in your EndNote library, active galactic nuclei, what's in a name. If I look over here now at this preview, we've got a bunch of authors, lots of authors, active galactic nuclei, what's in a name, the Astronomy and Astrophysics Review 25/191. So this all looks pretty good. The only sort of pedantic alteration to this I might want to make is to capitalize the W in watts, because in APA 7th, the first word after a colon is capitalized. So I'll go in here and edit. and I can come up to this little bit here and change that bit. Save. It's possible this article might have a DOI number as well, in which case that would be a good thing to add to this reference because APA 7th likes a DOI number if available. So I might even actually go into this particular paper and see if I can find a DOI number. What I'll also do is go into this paper and hopefully there's a PDF there that I can download and then I can show you attaching it to a reference. So I'm going to go seek out that information now. Okay, so we've got this little download PDF option that comes via the UTS libkey service that plugs into Google Scholar. And hey presto, there is actually a DOI number here. I'm not sure if it's going to, I'm not sure if it's going to let me easily copy and paste that DOI number though. Let me download this PDF and then we'll see what we can do. So there goes the PDF. It's called, just for findability's sake, S00159. Great. So if I now go over to this reference, the one that I want to attach the paper to, we can go over to the PDF tab up here and attach a PDF. And here it is here. I'll just select it. And there you go. Lovely. So there is actually some text in here. I'm not sure if I can copy it though. I'll try. So I'm just going to copy this DOI number and put it into the DOI field if I can. Now, some reference styles, when they deal with DOIs, will actually add the prefix, the HTTPS DOI part. So let me just save this and we'll see when we have a look at the summary whether we've got two of those and we need to remove one. So, no, this looks fine, https://doi.org. Oh no, tell a lie, there it is, it's there twice. So what I'm going to need to do is go in and remove some of this stuff. So it can be a bit tricky when you have a URL to do this without actually opening the URL, but let's try this. Okay, and now when I look at the summary, it's better. Lovely. Okay, and we'll also note that if you go to PDF, and we saw this just before, the PDF is attached there. You can blow it up from here so that it occupies the whole screen. And there are some markup functions here as well. You can put in a little sticky note. You can highlight text and things of that nature. And, you know, a couple of other buttons like print and save and stuff. So that's good to know. What's also interesting, I guess, is that if the PDF is machine readable, then you can actually search EndNote for words that not only appear in the reference, but actually appear in the PDF. So let me try one of these. See how this has electromagnetic spectrum in its abstract here. If I go up to this search mode and then choose advanced search, I can use this drop down to select, not say, I just want to search for the name of an author, but I can search for text in any field plus the PDF plus any notes I may have made in the PDF. So if I put spectrum in here, we've got two references, and unless spectrum is in both, then it will just highlight this Padavani one. There you go. It's a bit confusing because I was already looking at that reference. Maybe if I come back here and I do it one more time, here's two references, and now I'm going to search one more time, and now we can only see the one where the word applies. So there you go. That's all quite nice. Rightio. Another thing you can do if you like, this seems to already have really good data, but if you right-click on a particular reference, there's a Find Reference Updates option. This is contingent usually upon a DOI number being available in the reference itself, but if you've got one, and we do now, you can run this Find Reference Updates, and if it can add any extra information to the citation or to the, the downloaded information that it can extract from other web sources that have, DOI numbers attached to them, then it will. So it's basically here comparing, what it can find with our reference. And you can see actually here that it's been able to add the issue number over here. So what I might do is just do update empty fields. I actually thought we had the that issue number before anyway. But no, we didn't. So 25.1 now. That's much better, actually. That makes a far more accurate reference. So there you go. Volume 25, issue 1. So we've attached a PDF. Now what we're going to do is the final bit of reference collection. We're going to add a website reference. And this one's going to be on a slightly different topic, although still about space. It's going to be about population 3 stars. And here's one I prepared earlier. Population 3 stars, the universe's ultimate reclusive pop stars. Now, bearing in mind, if you didn't really know how to enter a website reference, you could use this document I found earlier, and you could go down to web page in here. You can see there's a lot of stuff in here. Web page. This one has a human author. There he is, Daegin Ko. I hope I've said his name okay. So web page with a human author, it would show you, here are the fields you need to fill out and the way you need to fill them out. However, I'm here to tell you about all that stuff as well. So I'm just going to dive in and show you. So here is our source information. We're now going to turn this into a citation in EndNote. So we can cut and paste some text here. I might cut and paste the title of the page, and then we can start making our reference. And we'll jump back and forward between this page and EndNote until we're done. So here we have EndNote. Here we have the option to make a reference from scratch, which we'll need to do for web pages. So I'm going to click that. First thing to do is select the reference type in question, which is web page. Go all the way down to the bottom and maybe move my zoom thing again. Oops. All right, there we are, web page all the way down the bottom. And the title we will paste in here. Now we want to make sure, again, like that we've got the casing correct. Population 3 stars, the universe's ultimate reclusive pop stars. It looks nice. We also have the date, 2018, March 18. So in terms of the way to enter this, you would actually not enter it exactly like that, but like this, 2018, March 18, like that, year first. That's how the reference will look as well. So this person's name is Daegin Ko. To enter a human being's name like this, you would actually enter their surname first, Ko in this case, I'm assuming, and then a comma, and then their first name. And depending on the referencing style you're using, it may append their first name down to an initial, and in the case of APS 7, that's what will happen. There's only a couple more things we need now for a website reference. We need the website, which is analogous to publisher when we're entering this information into EndNote, and we'll also need the URL. So the Kavli Institute for Particle Astrophysics and Cosmology is the name of the web page. The website, I should say. We're not really going to be able to copy and paste that, unfortunately. So I'm going to have to write all this in. Here we go. I'll try and do this quickly. Kavli Institute. I'm not going to be able to remember it all. I'm going to have to come back. Of particle physics. Now you'll notice that I'm capitalizing this title because that's something demanded by the style and cosmology. So the name of a web page in APS 7th would be capitalized because it's like a corporate title. And then we have the Kavli Institute of Particle Physics and Cosmology 4. And then we're going to copy the URL. So I've just noticed that this is for rather than of. So we want to get this information right. Little words like this don't need to be capitalized. And the URL down here, we shall paste that in. Okay, then save. And then if I close this little window that I've expanded and maximized, and then go back to EndNote, we have 3 references in all references now. So if I click there, I might need to get rid of this search. What have I done? All references, year contains blah, blah, blah. It's a bit weird. There we go. So now we have Daegin Ko, population 3 stars. So if I go over here, let's have a look at this one. We've got Co-D 2018, March 18, population 3 stars, the universe's ultimate reclusive pop stars, Kavli Institute for Particle Physics and Cosmology, and an URL. It's looking good. Okay, so now we're just about ready to start working with Word, but what I will do first is show you a couple of things to do with groups and tags. So groups and tags are quite similar to each other. They are both just ways of partitioning some references within your overall reference library into smaller receptacles, smaller baskets. So if you were doing a assessment, you could different themes within that assessment. You could divide into different groups. If you were a student, you could do a different group for different assessments, different chapters within a PDF, whatever it is that you like. But for today's purposes, we only have 3 references, but we will assign 2 to one group and we will give another one a tag. So you'll notice that 2 of our references are to do with active galactic nuclei. So I'm going to create a group called that as well. And press enter. So if I just rush through that too quickly, I right-clicked on my groups and did create group. You can also go up here to groups and create a group that way too. Once you've created it, it looks like this, and it's currently empty. But if I go over to all references again, I can select the 2 references that are about active galactic nuclei. I'm going to do this with shift-click. And then you can right-click on those selected references and use this add references to option to put them in the group. Now, active galactic nuclei has 2 references that are to do with it. If I go back to all references, I have this remainder citation about population 3 stars. So why don't I make a tag in this case called that? As I say, tags are quite similar. The only difference is that they have a colorful little badge next to them. Also, you can't sort of do nested groups the way you can with groups. So you can have sort of like a subgroups beneath a group heading in groups, but with tags you cannot. So anyway, population 3 stars, they're very highly redshifted. So I'll use a red tag, population I stars, create tag. Okay, now I'm going to add the matching citation to that tag. So if I go over here, I can drag it. If you like, you can drag it over there and let it go. So there you go, population 3 stars tag, done. And you can see it's got that little red symbol next to it there. Lovely. Pardon me. All right, so now we're ready to start looking at Word. When you download EndNote, magically, it will, let me just make a blank document here, puts a toolbar in Word for you. And you can see it up here, EndNote 21. Much like EndNote itself, it has many options, not all of which are the purview of today's class, but we'll show you the most important ones now. So in our theoretical life here, we are going to, write an assessment, but I'm not really going to write an assessment. I'll just put some text in here that is simulating an assessment. And then we want to cite something to do with, let's say, active galactic nuclei. So there's a few different ways to do this, but this is the most simple one. You press this little icon up here that says Insert Citation. And then it will give you a chance to search for something from your reference. Could be the name of an author, could be a word in the title, whatever it is that you're comfortable working with. So if I write active, for example, in there and press enter, the 2 citations that have that word in their information come up. So let's just, for argument's sake, say I wanted to insert this Netzer reference. I'll press insert. And then it will create an in-text citation and a reference list for me at the same time. It might dawdle a little bit for whatever reason. But while it dawdles and thinks about things, you can see that up here, we have a style drop down as well. And that style drop down is set to APA 7th. So if your style drop down in Word is not set to the style you'd like, you can use this little down arrow here to select same. Welcome back. So it finally happened, only a few seconds after I signed out. So here we have the in-text citation that has been inserted and also the reference list entry that has been inserted. What I promised to do before was to go back to EndNote and show you how you could add more referencing styles. So you can do that here in the PC version via Tools, Output Styles, Open Style Manager. And in this, hopefully it's not going to think for another 5 minutes, but is a very, very long list of styles, most of which are journal styles. So you can look up the name of a journal you might be publishing in here and then select it and add it to your list of styles. So here we go. You can see that there's lots of APAs, there's all kinds of different stuff. Apple, Clean, Inform, the abbreviated name of various journals. Applied Acoustics, for example, if I wanted that one, I could just tick the box here and close. And now when I look in here, applied acoustics is there. So that's nice to know. All right, back to the document, and hopefully it's going to act a little bit faster now. So let's say I wanted to invoke a reference in a slightly different way, in what's called a narrative citation. So this is a parenthetical citation where both elements exist within the same parentheses. Netzer, the author, and the year of publication. But sometimes you might want to say, Netzer says, and that sort of thing. So if you want to do this, you would go up here. You would choose Netzer and insert. Now, of course, if you do this, you're left with an additional Netzer you don't want. So for this situation, you click on the in-text citation, make it go gray, and then go up to Edit and Manage Citation. Within here is an option to exclude the author. You might be thinking at this point, well, why don't I just write the Netzer says 2013 in? Well, you can do that. However, if it's the only time you're ever going to cite that particular author, if you just write it in, then it's not going to be in your reference list, because that's the other thing EndNote does when you insert a citation is it creates your reference list for you. So I can just choose exclude author here and press OK. And it now turns this into what's called a narrative citation. I guess if Netzer says something, real words, then you would also be obliged to add a page number in here for where the quote lives. So you can do this in Edit and Manage Citations also. So you could go down and say, the quote is from page 7. Okay. And it will do all that for you and style it accordingly. Now, it looks a bit weird, this document at the moment, because I've only written 2 lines and I've cited the same person twice, but there is a reference list appearing here. Let me just show you what I mean by adding another reference. And what I can show you at the same time is how to add 2 citations to the same set of brackets. So sometimes you'll want to cite more than one person to make a point, and this is how you would do that. So if you go up here to insert citation, I write active one more time, I can put Padavani in there and press insert, and now they're both going to be put into the same set of brackets separated by a semicolon. And now here's both of their citations down here in a reference list. If I decided, oh, hang on, I want to remove one of these guys, there is a certain way to do this that works best as well. So just going in here and deleting a citation doesn't work terribly well. Especially if you've got 2 in the same set of brackets, it'll just basically not work and it'll bring the citation you removed back. It's also not a good idea to be going in here and sort of keying this stuff out in case you don't fully delete everything, in which case there can be stray bits of code that end up in your Word document that causes errors. So to remove a citation, this is the best way to do it. Go into Edit and Manage Citations, which we've used previously. And whichever one you want to remove, just use this little drop-down arrow here and then choose Remove Citation. And then press OK. And that works really well. Okay, so here is our reference list down here. You might want to add a little title to it. You might want to change the font. You might want to change the size of the font. So let me show you how to do that. There is a little button down here called Configure Bibliography in the PC version, very well hidden, but quite important. When you click on this, there's a Format Bibliography option here, which we don't really need to worry about right now. But there's also this Layout tab. And here you can change the font of the reference list itself. You can change the font size. You can give it a bibliography title, such as reference list. And you can also change things like the line spacing and the indent. So there you go. Now you've got a nice sort of old school looking reference list text there. Lovely. So we've really got through a lot of the stuff we need to cover today. The only things I'm going to add to this now are using EndNote Online and then using EndNote Online with Word. So EndNote Online is a cloud-based backup of your library, and it's useful for sort of working on different computers sometimes if you want to send your library from like your work computer to your home computer or something like that. It's also useful for working with Word Online, which is important if you, say, want to collaborate on a document with somebody, even somebody that might have a different EndNote library to your own. So if you look up EndNote Web on the internet, you can get to this link here, clarivate.com's webpage, and there's a register option in there. And if you use this register option, can't really open it there. It's basically like filling out a any sort of email account opening sort of thing. You create an email address, you create a password, and then you're good to go. Once you've done that, you can sign in, and it will look a bit like this. So here is my EndNote Online for EndNote 21. EndNote 21 has a slightly different interface than if you used EndNote 20. And it actually has a bit more functionality than EndNote 20 as well. So once you have all of that information, you can go into EndNote and you can sync your desktop library to your online library with your username and password that you created for EndNote Online. So to do that, you go to Edit, Preferences, and then you put the information in here. So your username, your password, the library you're going to sync. Now, this is a different one, I think, to what I'm going to sync. So when I do this, it will probably say, you're going to sync a different library now. Let me just press Enable Sync to make sure it's going to work. Yeah, it looks like it will. So, okay. And then now what we can do if we want to sync this library is go up here to Sync Configuration. And this is going to take these 3 references I added today and add them to the cloud. And it's saying, look, you synced a different library to this one before because I just made this library today. And I'll say, that's okay, that's fine. What this would actually do is merge any other libraries that you had synced to EndNote Online, both online and in this particular library that I created, Stars and Space. So if you don't want to do that, then don't be doing this syncing, especially if you've got a systematic review going. You don't want to be bringing in other references from previous work into your systematic review because it will foul up your numbers. Before I sync, it's saying, do you want to create a backup library just in case something goes wrong, such as you're getting references into your library that you don't want? But I'm not worried about that today because I'm not doing any real work. So I'm just going to press no. So some other tags and stuff from previous libraries have come through, shared libraries and stuff like that. I probably don't really need these tags and stuff now, so I might just delete some of these other things. Okay, not that that's hugely important. I think I had my EndNote Online library sort of emptied out before that, except for those little tags and stuff. So you'll notice that even though I've synced my library, no new references have come in. All right, that is important though. If I go over to the internet one more time, yes, now we look at my EndNote Online and it's got the 3 references that I inserted. And you can see here that there's this little thing indicates an attachment. Also, it does over here too. I forgot to mention that, but this little paperclip means that you've attached a PDF to the citation. All right. So once you have EndNote Online, you can use EndNote Online with Word. And this is the last thing I'll show you today. If you go over to, this is a Word document in the online version of, Office 365 or whatever. So when you have this document open, you can add the EndNote toolbar to Word Online. It's already here for me, but I'll show you how you would get it. You go to File, and then you go to, yes, add-ins. So get add-ins, my add-ins. So if you don't have EndNote there, and I do now, but you would go manage my add-ins. And then you would search for EndNote here. And then you would add it. Okay. So when it's there, it looks like this. And when you press on it, it's going to look up your Word EndNote Online account rather than your desktop account. So you need to have EndNote Online and you need to have synced your desktop with EndNote Online. But now we have these 3 citations in here. So if I just go in here and it's basically like, if we were doing the work we were doing before. So you click on a citation, you insert the citation. And you can see here it's not formatted maybe properly yet, but that's okay. Bit more, added citation, insert citation. Now, you'll notice that there's no reference list yet and that the citations look a bit funny. But if I go down here and maybe do update citations, let's have a look. Aha, it will then style these citations per your favorite referencing style, and all looks well down here. Now we have a beautiful looking reference list and we've got in-text citations. If you wanted, let's just finish now by going back to the library's homepage and to tell you that if you need help with EndNote on a personal level, beyond what the web page and the study guide within that web page can do, you can always use this contact us form up here, and you can chat with us, and you can also ask us a question. And if it's a deep and meaningful EndNote question and you're a staff or a PhD student, we will be able to set up a consultation with you to help answer whatever questions you may have and solve any problems you may have. All right, that's it for now. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you down the road. Bye-bye.